News Radio 1000 KTOK. I'm Gwin Faulconer-Lippert. It's time for our monthly checkup. And who and what are we checking on? Well, there is a Facebook page called Pike Off OTA. And joining me about once a month is Randy Carter. He is the Director of Strategic Communications for this organization, which now has a more official name of Oklahomans for Responsible Transportation. They also have a website called No More Turnpikes is the Facebook page, and Pike Off OTA is the website. Now, do I have them right, Randy?
Yes.
Randy Carter,
that is exactly it.
Director of Strategic Communication. And
Yes.
I'm dying to know what's happened in the last month.
Well, I think probably one of the most significant things that's happened is we have celebrated, I don't know if you call it a celebration or not, but we have, are aware of the first anniversary of the announcement of the access program that we think is going to cause extreme havoc and devastation through the state of Oklahoma. I'm calling it a Category 5 destruction. And of course, we just saw some major destruction come through Norman here just recently, crossing the lines of where this proposed turnpike might even go someday. But it's been a year since they've announced this, and quite a lot has actually happened to fight these turnpikes. And I'm quite proud of the effort that our team has put together. We have done an awful lot of things, and we've actually been able to keep the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority from accessing the bond market to continue with these programs. They've announced on their website that at this time they are no longer doing any activity related to the 3 turnpikes that we have issues with going through Cleveland County. So that's a major event in my mind.
The program is called Access Oklahoma, and the
Yes.
Oklahoma Turnpike Authority says they would like to put many new turnpikes across Oklahoma, 3 of which happen to be in Cleveland County. And
Yes.
what else should we say about this? For people that don't know, I know that.
Well,
go ahead.
those are the 3 legs that we're in opposition to, and I like to make this perfectly clear. We're not against turnpikes. We are not against progress. We're not against economic development. We're not against safe and efficient highways. These 3 turnpike legs that we are concerned about have a lot of flaws with them. In fact, if you remember, not too long ago, we talked about the fact that the Federal Bureau of Reclamation denied the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority the right to build their turnpikes across what they call fee title land, which is land that's owned by the Bureau of Reclamation, who owns and operates Lake Thunderbird. Well, actually, the Central Oklahoma Master Conservancy District operates the lake on behalf of the Bureau of Reclamation. That's a mouthful. I'm sorry.
No, it's true. But that happens to be the water source for Norman, Midwest City, Del City. Anybody else?
Those are the three that source their water from Lake Thunderbird. And Lake Thunderbird is in what they call an impaired lake. It's at about 50% of its lifespan at this point, and it's about, it was built in, I believe it was opened in the middle of the late 60s. So if you do the math, it's at 50%, it's got not a lot of time left, and we are terribly concerned that these turnpikes will cause irreparable damage and speed up that process with Lake Thunderbird and impair the water source for those 3 major metropolitan areas.
Well, and then the other kind of interesting part about this is the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority created this plan, did not go to the legislature, did not go to the residents, of which you are one, and there are approximately, 600 families that will be affected directly by the plan they said wasn't permanent but was the drawing, as I recall.
Yes. And at the time, they said they didn't know how many properties would be taken. When that 600 number is structures and properties, not necessarily
not families.
That many families.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but it's still a big number. A big number.
Well,
so.
And for people that don't know East Norman, it is primarily a rural area, or has been a rural area, that faced an outer loop proposal in the 80s, I believe. And
well, it was middle 90s.
And was able to convince everybody, including the Turnpike Authority, that it should remain rural. And so this plan was defeated, or a similar plan was defeated once.
Yes, it was withdrawn. Neil McCaleb was in charge of the transportation. I believe it's called the Department of Transportation, Oklahoma, ODOT. Let's just call it that. I used to work there when it was called the Highway Department. Years and years ago, I was a staff photographer there, so I get confused about what the official name of it is. But Neil McCaleb basically said, call it quits. The people don't want it. We're not going to put it there. So
why do they think we need it now, and then we're going to go forward? I'm just trying to give people some backstory here. Yes.
Well, they say there's a traffic issue on I-35. It's our contention that traffic issue could be alleviated by better on-off ramps. I mean, one of the main ramps that they're concerned with is at Indian Hills and I-35, which is a horribly designed on-off ramp. I'm sure you've had the privilege.
It's convoluted.
To use it from time to time.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very dangerous, and seems like it's always bogged down there. But interestingly enough, there was a proposal recently, and I don't remember, in the last couple of years, where one of the tribes at Highway 9, where it comes in from the west at I-35, they were going to they had proposed a new interchange there that would alleviate some of the traffic congestion, and the tribe was going to contribute a large amount of money to that project, and for some reason Governor Stitt pulled the plug on that. There's other options than this turnpike that could be done to take care of some of these issues.
So what are the measures that right now have the Turnpike Authority either paused or stopped?
Well, one of the things that the Turnpike Authority has to do in order to issue a new bond filing, they have to go before what's called the Council on Bond Oversight. And basically the Council on Bond Oversight's job, and again, I don't know exactly, this is the best I understand it at this point. It's their job to make sure that the application is filled out appropriately and that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. And one of the boxes that has to be checked on that application before the Council on Bond Oversight is that there is no ongoing litigation, court cases against that particular entity, and in this case, the Turnpike Authority, and they applied for I believe it's $500 million. Don't quote me on the exact. Back in June, they were going to apply for a large bond issuance to start the planning for these projects, and a group of Pike OTA and a group of other plaintiffs filed a lawsuit the week before against the Turnpike Authority, claiming that the turnpikes that they are proposing, the three, the South Connector, or the South Extension, the East-West Connector, and the Tri-City Connector, were never legally authorized by the Oklahoma legislature, which is the only overriding factor that the Turnpike Authority has on it now.
So if they were never legally authorized, how did they build those connectors?
Well, the East-West Connector and the Tri-City Connector were authorized back in, I believe it was 1987, in a piece of legislation that in that legislation it said that it was with some other turnpikes, part of the Kilpatrick, and I believe I think the two legs of the Kilpatrick that were completed. There were four legs in that turnpike, and they were supposed to have been completed. It was authorized in 1987, but they were supposed to have been completed with one bond issuance, is the way the law read. and they were not. They issued the bonds and they completed the Kilpatrick and I believe what other. Don't quote me exactly, but the two legs, the Tri-City and the East-West Connector, were not completed in that bond issuance. So it's our contention and the argument before the Supreme Court right now that those two legs are their authorization has expired because they weren't completed under that one bond issue. Now the southern extension, which goes from Purcell to up near the connecting with the Kickapoo at I-40, it's our contention that has never ever been legally authorized by the state legislature. And I believe if you go back and check the records, we have found that the Kickapoo, which is their most recent completion, was never actually authorized. And actually on their website, it says authorized by the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority, where all the other turnpikes say authorized by state legislature and list the bill number.
So can you retroactively challenge that?
I am not a lawyer. I don't have a clue as to what could be done about that. I don't know if you saw the story that just broke out of Tulsa this last week from Fox 23 up there that is making the accusation that the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority violated the Open Meetings Act when they did work on the recently completed Gilcrease Turnpike, and I should say controversial Gilcrease Turnpike. So
absolutely,
there's quite a few.
Yes, let's pick it up with that when we come back. I'm talking to Randy Carter. He is the Director of Strategic Communications for Oklahomans for Responsible Transportation. We're talking about Access Oklahoma and why Pike Off OTA is not for parts of it. You're listening to 1000 KTOK. We'll be back in 3. News Radio 1000 KTOK. Gwin Faulconer-Lippert talking to Randy Carter, the Director of Strategic Communications for Pike Off OTA, or Oklahomans for Responsible Transportation. He has been one of the spokespeople for this organization, actually has 2 homes that he built in the path of one of the Cleveland County Access Oklahoma properties that they're going after. But with some quick action and just a lot of really smart people that Randy has on his team, they have been able to challenge the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority when the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority thought this was a slam dunk. And so if you've been following this with Randy and me, you know that there was a open meetings challenge, and the judge ruled in favor of, I'll say Pike Off OTA, now the Oklahomans for Responsible Transportation, that the Turnpike Authority willingly did not communicate with the people directly affected with this project. So now, well, you brought up the Gilcrease, Randy, and it looks like that exact same thing happened, according to the Fox 23 report, to those Tulsa citizens who've been driving that free road for years to get to their properties, and now it's a toll road.
Yes, it is, and there's a lot of controversy about that. There's a lot of unhappy people in the Berry Hill area of Tulsa, and they're quite unhappy with it. It's their contention that they've been told that road was going to be free, and then now it's a toll road. And it's, if I remember correctly, it's the highest per mile toll rate of any toll road in the state of Oklahoma, and we are one of the we're one of the top 10 states in turnpike miles. In fact, I think we are either the top or the second highest number of turnpike miles of any state in the nation, and I believe we're 28th in population. So that's kind of a mismatch there.
At one point, I believe that you explained to me, as did Stan Ward, that the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority created turnpikes, the first 2, with the promise that when the turnpikes were paid for, they would return to free roads for the citizens. And then somewhere along the way, just as the Turner Turnpike to Tulsa was going to be paid off, I guess there was some legislative action to do cross-pledging.
Well, it's a little more complicated than that. I don't completely understand it. I think that the Turnpike Authority has taken there was a state question that was involved in it.
So I was part of that problem if I voted, is what you're saying.
Well, I think, Gwen, we were probably way too young to vote at that time.
Oh, good.
When we can't personally be held responsible for that state question, and I apologize. I don't have that question number right in front of me to give you exact details. But
the upshot is we're never going to have our turnpikes paid off. Because according to that wonderful shirt you gave me, there are so many projects proposed in the future that we will be paying for turnpikes forever.
Well, and that's certainly a possibility. Just because those turnpikes are authorized doesn't mean that they are going to happen. But what the real problem, it seems to me, is that the turnpikes exist, but they cannot pay for themselves. We have 3, maybe 4 turnpikes in the state that are self-sufficient. In other words, they generate enough toll to pay off the bonds and also take care of the maintenance. That's the Will Rogers, the Turner, the Kilpatrick in Oklahoma City, and we kind of think on the borderline, the H.E. Bailey between Oklahoma City and Wichita Falls. All the other turnpikes don't generate enough revenue to pay the bonds and maintain the turnpikes. So the 3.5 or 4 turnpikes that do cover themselves are ending up paying for the turnpikes that can't do that. But it's our contention that the Turnpike Authority is in financial trouble, and one of the main reasons they're trying to propose these new turnpikes is to generate bond money to pay off the bonds that they can't pay off now through regular operations, and then just kick the can down the road for future generations to have to deal with this problem again when these bonds come due on these new proposed turnpikes.
So you are issuing the clarion call, come one, come all, and be respectful. Tuesday, March 7th at 10:30 is the Oklahoma...
No, March 27th.
Oh, well, now that's Capital Day is March 27th. I'm looking at the Turnpike Authority meeting. Which
there
is
a
this
meeting
Tuesday. And
yes.
I know you all are respectful and
absolutely
don't cause a ruckus or anything, but you would like to have a concerned citizens there to witness how they handle their meetings.
Well, if you've ever seen a rubber stamp in action, you will be able to see what's going on. We've done a deep dive into the records, and there's thousands of votes that the Turnpike Authority has done, and there's never been a single no vote in any of that. They continue to rubber stamp what the staff tells them is appropriate, and yet we've seen many inappropriate things that have occurred by the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority. In fact, one of the House bills that we are quite interested in and have been supporting, Representative Danny Sterling, 2263, has come out of committee, and the purpose of that bill is to I don't know if you remember, but a few years back, Governor Stitt did a lot to gain control over all of the agencies, and he now has the authority to appoint all of the board members of the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority, all of the authority members.
Let's pick it up with that one if we can. I'm going to have to go to Fox News, but we will talk about what happens when the governor has the ability to appoint all of the members of a board. You might just be amazed. You're listening to 1000 KTOK. We're talking about Access Oklahoma. News Radio 1000 KTOK. I'm Gwin Faulconer-Lippert, talking about a program called Access Oklahoma. I have dubbed it Excess Oklahoma because the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority is kind of running rampant to try to build some new turnpikes. Randy Carter is Director of Strategic Communications, the Pike OTA, or the Oklahomans for Responsible Transportation. You can find their Facebook page, Pike OTA, and I'm seeing here, Randy, that you all provide really good information on how to watch the meetings of the Turnpike Authority.
Yes.
And all kinds of really helpful information. And I must tell you, I get pats on the back from people I have no idea who they are, saying, "Thank you, Gwin, for talking about this." So you may feel like that the three paths there in Cleveland County are kind of on a path alone, but there are a lot of Oklahomans that feel your pain. Now, they can't feel your panic, I don't think, because, I mean, many of you have built your dream homes out there and everything, and now they want to put turnpikes through the middle of it. But there are some concerned citizens. So this half hour, I want to kind of do the way forward. You mentioned House Bill 2263. Tell me, what is that House bill?
It's a bill by Representative Danny Sterling from out in Tecumseh area. At this point, the governor appoints all the members of the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority, and it is our contention that those appointees are beholden to the governor. This is the governor's project, as we understand it, as Access Oklahoma is his baby. So these Turnpike Authority members are basically what we've seen is that they just generally rubber stamp whatever the Turnpike Authority presents to them to be approved, with very little questioning, very little digging in and trying to understand exactly what's going on. Now, that's the appearance, and that's all I can speak from, because I am not in any of their private meetings or sessions. But that's what seems to happen at the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority meetings that we have attended and or watched on their live broadcast.
Are there other House bills as well that have gotten out of committee?
Yes. Danny Sterling's, like I said, 2263, which will give the Speaker of the House and the President Pro Tem of the Senate a board member appointee to the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority. And also, it will limit their terms from, it will reduce their terms of service to 6 years and reduce it down from 8 years. So, yes, there's a number of other bills that we've been supportive of that have gotten out of committee, and who knows where they'll go from there. But we certainly have a great group of volunteer lobbyists. I guess they're not officially lobbyists, because if you're a lobbyist, I believe you have to register. And we are volunteers going up to the Capitol to present our case to the legislators. Up until now, we've been working with the different committees, trying to make sure that some of these bills will get heard and get passed. What's interesting to me, and I never really knew this much about the legislature, but a bill gets written and presented, and what happens then, it gets assigned to a particular committee. That committee chair can just decide not to hear that bill.
Yep.
Not to even bring it up, not even let anybody know. I mean, people know about it, but not even let it be heard. And in order for it to get to be on the floor, to be passed, then sent to the Senate or the House, whatever, however it works, and the governor to sign, but one person can decide, no, none of these bills are going to get heard.
One powerful person. You are right.
Yes. And that just, I don't understand the system, but that just doesn't seem a very democratic or republic way. I mean, just to do things. But
well, now I think
I don't know.
This past Thursday was the last day to get out of committee. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe that is correct.
So you kind of know what you're working with now.
Yes, we have a number of bills that we are supporting. Representative West got a bill out of committee dealing with eminent domain, and trying to put some of the brakes on that. And I don't know all the exact details. I'm kind of a big picture guy. I've got a lot of people that are very good on the details, but it has to do with eminent domain, and our group of Oklahomans for Responsible Transportation is very supportive of this particular bill. So we're excited about that. getting out of committee, and we're going to do our best to get it passed on the floor, then sent over to the Senate. Hopefully the Senate will hear it, pass it, and then it can go to the governor. And I suspect that anything dealing with the turnpike or that might have any effect on the turnpike, we're going to need a supermajority in order to override a potential veto by the governor.
Well,
So,
and also then the Supreme Court is going to get involved, correct?
The Supreme Court is involved at this point. If you remember the suit on the Pike-off suit on legal authorization of these three legs it went to district court. It was filed in district court, and then the district court, the Turnpike Authority filed a motion that asked for dismissal, and in that dismissal, the judge stated that it should be decided by the state Supreme Court. There's a law that's been on the books for quite some time that gives the Supreme Court, was it original jurisdiction? I don't remember the exact word, but they get to decide on turnpike authorizations. But quite encouraging, there was a hearing before the Supreme Court referee, and as a result of that hearing, our case was presented before that referee on the legal authorization of those three legs. The referee then ponders and reads all the case briefs and that sort of thing, and then makes a recommendation to the court. Well, however it works, the state Supreme Court, in a very unusual and not very often occurrence, heard oral arguments from the Turnpike Authority and from Pike-off attorneys and a number of other people on this legal authorization case, and that was back in, I believe, the fall, early December, I believe. But we still have not heard. We're hoping for a ruling any day, but at this point. But if the court doesn't rule, if the court takes a long time to rule, that just delays the Turnpike Authority even further. So, in a sense, we're excited to know what their ruling is going to be, but we're also not upset that they're taking their time doing it, because it keeps things on hold until that gets decided. And again, like we talked about on the bond oversight as well. But we hope it'll rule in our favor. And the way the arguments went, I was there at the Supreme Court meeting or Supreme Court hearing, and I was quite encouraged by some of the questions that the justices were asking both the Turnpike Authority and the Pike-off attorneys. We won't know the outcome until we do know, but I feel good about the potential outcome of that case.
Was it related to the open meetings willful neglect of informing? No, had nothing to do with that.
It had nothing to do with that. The open meetings violation case was decided in a summary judgment that the judge decided that there was no need to go through with a trial because the evidence was crystal clear that they had willfully violated the Oklahoma Open Meetings Act. Now, they have appealed that, which is, it seems strange to me that they're appealing it, because what they're doing is they're going back to the same judge who ruled that they willfully violated it, and they're going to appeal. And if they win that appeal, then there has to be a trial before that same judge who already decided that they willfully violated it. So, that to me, it doesn't make sense. In fact, it actually just delays the process.
And that's good for us. We like that delay.
I do agree. Now, one of the other bills that's gotten out of committee that it has to do with the turnpike, but it's not exclusive with the turnpike. Annie Mintz, freshman representative from here in Norman, got House Bill 2730 out of committee, and it is to change the Open Records Act to where basically a state agency has to respond within 10 days of a request for open records. And they have to either deliver those records or they have to respond why they are unable to do that and then give a date. So that goes along with Senator Kurt's SB 89 as well. So we're encouraged by that.
Tuesday will be a regular meeting day of the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority, and there are different times. You can go to Pike-off OTA and find out how to view it even online. Randy, I'm going to turn this last part over to you. Do you want to tell us the bills that we should be watching? Do you want to rally the troops to show up Tuesday? Do you want to talk about Capitol Day? I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, there's all kinds of things going on. I think it's always good to have a presence at the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority meeting, just to make sure they know that that we are there, and we are should be represented as citizens as well in all of this. It is and again, I don't understand the difference, but the Turnpike Authority is what's called a state instrumentality of the state as opposed to a state agency. What that means, I don't know, but nonetheless, that's what it's called. Yes, it's good to show up and be there. Again, I encourage everybody to be respectful and be courteous. Yelling and causing a scene doesn't do any good, and especially I know we've been at the legislature since the 1st of February, working on trying to get different bills out of committee and then onto the floor, passed, and hopefully getting a governor's signature on those. And it's been quite eye-opening for me. I've discovered that the legislators are very friendly and interested in hearing our story. They may not agree with us, but they certainly want to know what's going on and what our concerns are. And generally, a legislator is more interested in talking to their own constituents about things. So we have been approaching those members of committees that our specific bills have been in front of to encourage them and educate them, and do the best we can. And like I said, we've gotten there's 4 bills that we're interested in that have gotten out of committee, and I believe we'll have those posted on our No More Turnpikes Facebook page, and anybody around the state happening to be tuning in that might have a sympathetic feel towards our cause, we would certainly appreciate a call to your legislator and encouraging them to vote yes on these bills that we are supporting. Again, House Bill 2263, House Bill 2191, and House Bill 2730, and that's kind of the sister bill to Senator Kurt's bill, Senate Bill SB 89, and the Mintz and Kurt's bill deals with the open records and the 10-day window. As it stands right now, an open meetings request. In fact, we still have some open meetings, or not open meetings, open records. I get confused those. I'm sorry. Open records requests. We've had some that have been in for months and months and months and months, and got no response on. And I believe we have a number of open records requests into the governor's office from way back in a year ago spring, and have had no response, no action, nothing on those, which is somewhat bothersome to me. But this bill would cause them to have to take action on that. So we certainly appreciate any help with those bills. And representatives and senators do like to hear from their constituents. So I would encourage anybody to make those calls or emails on our behalf. It would be greatly appreciated.
Is it truly possible that the Key Tam lawsuit, which is going to, if you win this lawsuit, that the agency will have to recover to the state the funds they have paid out to engineers and all that on the proposed routes that they said weren't real? What about the property they've already bought?
I don't know what will happen on that. They've entered into a legal agreement on those properties, and they have purchased them. One of the things the Turnpike Authority does is they do purchase property all around the state, hopefully to be in connection with properties that they need for their projects. But on a regular basis, they auction off surplus properties. So it's not uncommon that they do buy properties that they end up not needing. So I mean, all I could do is think that maybe those properties, if those turnpikes are ruled not legal, and however, if the Supreme Court does rule that those projects are not legally authorized, the Turnpike Authority could always go back to the legislature and attempt to get them authorized. So that's one of the reasons that we're working so hard with the legislature, is we know that that could be a possibility. I mean, the Supreme Court could come through and say, yes, those are legally authorized in their ruling, and then, then we're back to square one again, like we were over a year ago. So, there's still that sort of Damocles is still hanging over our heads.
So if it drags out longer and longer, is that a good thing for you all, or does it just make your anxiety even greater?
Well, it's probably a two-edged sword. The longer it goes on, the longer the Turnpike Authority is not going to be able to issue bonds of any sort because of the litigation that's filed against them, and then the ongoing cases. That's a box they've got to check on their application with the Council on Bond Oversight, and if those cases are still ongoing, then they won't be able to enter the bond market, as I understand it. So the longer that goes on, the longer they will have to do without issuing bonds to do these major projects that they're trying to accomplish. And we're certainly not against we're only against those three particular legs that we've talked about. Part of the access program is to widen the Turner Turnpike from all the way. They've done a
part of it, yeah.
Part of the project, up by Tulsa, widening it to 6 lanes, 3 lanes on each side, and having a dedicated truck lane, I believe. But we're certainly not opposed to those, and we're not opposed to. We're obviously not opposed to safety on highways and access for people to get to their communities. But because the Turnpike Authority, tied those projects in with the 3 legs that we're opposed to in one bond issuance, then they've really kind of tied their own hands doing it that way, because they are unable to separate out the bonds for different projects. But again, I contend that one of the reasons they want these 3 new projects is to have the appearance that they will generate more revenue, so they can generate more bonds to pay off the old bonds that they can't pay off now.
It is a slippery slope, isn't it? And what about the tornadoes? Didn't the tornadoes take a very similar path to one of the turnpike planned paths?
They crossed. It looks to me like they crossed somewhere along the southern extension. But again, because of the Bureau of Reclamation denial, the proposed path that they drew right now is not. They're not going to be able to use that unless they somehow get the Bureau of Reclamation to reconsider, and they can apply again to the Turnpike Authority can apply again to the Bureau of Reclamation. I don't know what they will do, but the best of my awareness is that they will probably go west on the southern extension. They will move it a little bit west, a mile or two, in order to avoid the Bureau of Reclamation land. That's one of the options.
I know you're having a Capitol Day, March 27th, and you want to invite the public?
Yes, we would love to have anybody. We would especially love to have people that support our cause, but we certainly welcome anybody that would like to come, and maybe we could persuade them to come to our cause. But yes, March 27th at the Oklahoma State Capitol, we're going to have a rally involving some speakers that are experts from our point of view on these turnpikes and what can be done about them, and then encouraging everybody to come to go by and talk to legislators and to persuade them to our side of the story and to tell their own personal stories. Personal stories can be very powerful as well. And I just think there's a lot of room for a lot of education. What's interesting too, there's a number of bills that we did not get out of committee. Again, like I said, there's the powerful committee chair can keep your bills from being heard. But this is the beginning of a 2-year session. And if those bills did not get heard, they can come back up again at the beginning of the session next year in the I guess it's February of 2024. So just because they didn't get heard this year doesn't mean that they won't. And we are certainly in the process of educating the legislators as to why they should hear these bills, and to our point of view that these turnpikes are, as you like to say, excess, not access.
Randy Carter is Director of Strategic Communication for the Oklahomans for Responsible Transportation. I thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to our next update. Good luck on Tuesday at the meeting.
Gwen, thank you. It's always a pleasure to be on your show, and I appreciate all your effort helping us to fight these Category 5 turnpikes trying to take our homes.